Hey everyone. I'm gonna make some Christmas pinwheel sugar cookies. They're gonna look very similar to that when we're done. And they look complicated, but they really are not bad. So I have to start with a half a cup of softened butter. And I softened mine in the microwave, so it's a little more than soft, but that will be just fine because this will sit in the fridge for a little bit and firm up before I turn them into cookies. Alright, and my bowl and spatula and everything are already dirty because I just made a regular batch of sugar cookies, so I didn't see the need to wash anything in between those. I'll then add 1 cup of regular sugar, and we're going to let these cream together until they're nice and light and fluffy. Okay, you'll see they've gotten nice and lighter colored and fluffy now. I'm gonna add 2 whole eggs. And give those a mix. Alright, now I'm going to take my spatula and get the sides and the bottom really well. As you can see where it's not really enough to be mixing in this big mixer, but that's how we're doing it, so. Okay, now we'll give these a chance to get together. Okay, now I'm going to add my vanilla. I need 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla. Just 1.5. And then I also need 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. Oops, I didn't change my measuring spoon there. Okay. And give that a really quick mix. Okay. Now I need to add my flour. And I need 2 3/4 cups of flour. And I'm using unbleached flour. If you would rather your cookies be super bright white in that spiral, then by all means use the bleached flour. I just try not to. That's my 1 cup. All right, now we'll add our 2nd cup. Now add my 3/4 that I had left. Alright, you can kind of hear the mixer change when the dough is done. The mixer kind of starts to struggle. So I'm gonna get this cleaned off and give everything in the bowl a good quick hand mix just to make sure I got everything mixed together. Take this off. Okay, we're gonna call that done. Now, give this a quick mix. You'll see there's still some dry down there at the bottom. So get all of that mixed together. All right. Now, what I need to do with this next is I need to put half of it into another bowl. So bear with me a second. Okay, so I'm gonna put half of it into this bowl. Let me slide everything over so you can see what I'm doing. Remember, unplug your mixer. All right. So just gonna get that out of the way. Now, let's see. You want this to be as close to half as possible because that's where you're going to get your swirl and your layer from. So, let's get all of this off. Like so. And we're going to say that's half. Okay. That look pretty close? I think so. We'll get this a little bit more. All right, so half in this bowl, half in that bowl. Let me grab so if you have red food dye that's in the dropper form, like the liquid form, that's preferable. I don't have any red left, so I have the red gel that's in these little containers. So what I'm going to do, and I'm pretty low on what's in this, but I think I can get enough for what I need. So how you get, or how I get the gel food coloring out of these is I just take a toothpick and get it on the end of my toothpick and then just brush it on whatever I'm trying to change the color of. So that should be good. And watch where you put that toothpick because it will stain whatever you put it on. So I just dropped mine down in the sink, but if you have a ceramic sink, it will stain your sink. So just be careful and cautious of that. So we're gonna give this a mix. Okay, so I got the red mixed, and it looks orange, but it's actually really pink. Set that to the side. I have my original, just the plain dough here, and I'm going to put it between 2 sheets of wax paper. And then what I want to do is make a long, skinny rectangle out of this. And it's a little difficult to do because your paper likes to slide on the counter, so just be ready for that. And you want to keep this as rectangular as possible because this is going to be kind of your cinnamon roll part. And however deep you make these cookies, so like the depth, you can't see what I'm doing, the depth here, however deep you make that is the width of that color in your spiral of cookie. So you can make that whatever size you want. I like that to be pretty small so I can get quite a few spirals out of it. All right, now I'm getting to the end of what paper I have, so now I'm just evening out that rectangle. All right, now let's take a look and see what we think. I think that looks pretty good. So now I need to do the pink one. So I'm gonna peel this one off. Nice and gently. And put this one off to the side. Come on. And then put my pink one on here. It's starting to get warm, so it's a little more tacky and finicky. All right. Now let me grab another sheet of wax paper. Okay, and let's move that over a little bit. Come back. Put this one on top, like so. Now we're going to do the same thing. And the goal is to get it about the same size as the other one. And if you get wrinkles, you can do it like that and bring it back in. All right, let's one more good sweep and then we'll compare it to the other one. Let's see. So here's my other set. You just need to make it a little bit wider, it looks like. Lengthwise, we're good. Okay. Now I'm going to take a knife and get this a little more even. And add these extra bits where I don't have enough. So pretty thin right there. And then we're gonna call this the top edge there. And we'll move this. I think I'm just gonna move this completely down here on this end. And we'll see how that does. Now I'm just trying to make sure everything's nice and even at the same width. All right, I think that is going to do it. All right, one more little spot. Okay, so the next part is to then bring my other one back. All right. And then I'm going to take the paper off of the pink one. Flip the pink one onto the white one and get it as even as you can. Alright, let me go back just a little bit. This is the hard part. Getting it lined up just right so we don't waste much. All right. Now, peel this one off. And now I'm going to spiral these up. So I'm going to start with this end. And, oh, you can't see what I'm doing, can you? I apologize. See if I can get that better. Okay, so this looks like a big piece of like smoked salmon or something. All right, so now what I want to do is I want to roll, and I'm doing this end because I want my cookies to be small when I cut them. You can go the other way and make wider cookies if you'd like. And you want to keep this as tight as possible so that that swirl is nice and tight when you cut it. Alright, now what you want to do is take some of your, actually what I will probably go ahead and do is trim these ends up a little bit. That way I'm not trying to refrigerate those and find space for those. Alright. We're going to take it, and I'm going to take another piece of parchment. Because now this is going to go in my fridge. So, what I want to do is make sure it's covered well. And now I'm going to just roll this guy up. Like so. Just roll it up. Alright, and then to make it so that it will stay round instead of square, I'm going to take 2 drinking glasses and put 1 on each end. Like so, and like so. And now my cookies will be round instead of square or rectangular or whatever shape they decide to try and be. So I'm going to get these in the fridge, and they need to chill for about 2 hours overnight if you have time, and then we'll be back to slice them. Alright, so here's our dough after it's been chilling. And the next thing we need to do is roll the dough in these sprinkles. So, this is where you make a huge mess. And just work on rolling back and forth and getting covered in sprinkles. And you will get sprinkles everywhere, but it's okay. Do one more little bit back here so we can make sure we're rolled in it good. Okay. You'll have some spots you might have to do by hand, but it'll be all right. Then what you want to do is take your roll, and I just have some, let's zoom see better. All right, so just have some dental floss, and I'm going to use that to cut it because it makes nice clean cuts. Make sure we're sprinkled better. Oh, there's sprinkles on. Okay. Now, start on the end. And we're just going to go under. Like so. And then you pull tight. Ta-da! And then you'll see you have a nice little spiral. Now I'm going to leave this one off to the side because it's kind of small. And I want to get into these bigger ones. So, and you can do this with a knife. That's perfectly fine. 2, you want your slices to be about that thick. So what's that? 1 centimeter probably? Half an inch. And that's what you're getting. We'll put that on our pan. And I'll show you with a knife. Problem with the knife is that it kind of misshapes them and makes them, but you can fix it. Turn them back into rounds. And you can use any colored sprinkles that you like. These are those little dot sprinkles that look like that. All right. So, there's my dozen ready to go in the oven, and they're going to bake at 350 for 8 to 10 minutes. Okay, so they're out of the oven. They were in there for 9 minutes, and you can see they keep all their little sprinkles around the edge. They just get a little bit golden. And I'll let these cool for a few minutes and then move them to a cooling rack and keep going. I have another set ready to go. And I believe this is going to make probably 2.5 dozen, but I'll let you know for sure.